In the last episode, we were discussing how people stumble into leadership. They just find themselves into leadership position and the problems that are associated with that. And I went through the challenges that I faced personally when I also stumbled into a leadership position. And in this episode, we want to talk about how now do you prepare before an opportunity comes? Because opportunities sometimes will come. How do you prepare? How do you make yourself ready for when that opportunity comes? And remember, we are not just discussing leadership as it pertains to government, presidents, cabinet ministers, and all of that. We are discussing different levels of leadership in the homes, in the schools, in the churches, in the markets, in the farm, just about everywhere. If you want to get married, you need to prepare to have a house, rent a house, buy this and that. Success cannot just come. Nothing can come out of nothing, and certainly not success. That is extremely important for us to know. So, how do you prepare as a leader? Number one for me is reading. We are a generation that does not like reading, but there's a lot of books. You have no excuse for not learning. So you can even go to YouTube. If you don't want to read, you can even just go to YouTube. There'll be videos there of whatever it is that you want to learn. So you can have as much information as possible on the thing that is of interest to you. The late Dr. Carlos Klaus Schirmer once used to say, if you must do something, and then do it well or don't do it at all. And I think that's a mark of a champion, where if you must do something, however small it is, do it extremely well. Don't leave anything to chance. Nothing comes out of nothing. So you need to read as much as possible to prepare for the job or the position that you want. And the other thing is about mentorship. Again, like I said, we have an entitled generation that does not want to learn. They know everything. As a matter of fact, why must I go and learn from that person when I can get that information on the internet? But there's something that happens to you when you're talking to somebody that has been through the path that you want to embark on. For example, a lot of young people come to me and ask me, how do I do this? How do I get there? Or how do I have what you have? How do I, get to do maybe what you're doing and all that? What they're really asking me is that, is there a bullet pill that I can just swallow and then I become a you, or I get to do what you do, or I get to have the skills that you do? And really, there's nothing like that in this world. There are no miracle successes. You must work for what you want in life. So without a mentor, you have no center. You need to have a mentor. It is extremely important for you to do so. So most young people feel that they're too good to be mentored by anyone. They cannot learn anything from anyone. In fact, I believe that the moment you say, I don't want to learn, or I no longer want to put myself up for learning, then it means you have reached the epitome of humanity. It is now time for you to go and meet your maker. We no longer have use for you on earth because you have done everything humanly possible for you to do. You have achieved everything. And there's no human being that has achieved everything. All of us can only do so much. We have limited time on earth. And it is extremely important that we live our lives every single day purposefully, intentionally. And therefore, whatever it is that you do on a daily basis, you must do it right. You must do it well. You must be intentional about it. You cannot achieve everything that you want to achieve in this life without being mentored or guided by someone. What mentors also do, at least what my mentors do also, is to become also a soundboard to the ideas. And I get to have so many ideas, even on a daily basis. So they become a soundboard to tell me, no, you cannot do this before you do that. Or you had said you're going to do this 2 months ago. Where are we on that? So you also become accountable to them. As you're becoming accountable to them, you're also becoming accountable to yourself. That is a mark of a leader. And the other thing is about discipline, staying on course. People that have gone ahead and achieved the impossible are the ones that have said, I will do this no matter who is applauding or not. Before I started this podcast, there were so many people that told me a lot of things. Oh, there are so many podcasts that are there. Why would you want to have your podcast? What's your comparative advantage? What is this? What is this? If I had listened to everything that everybody was saying, I wasn't going to start at all. But I started this because there was something that I had in mind. I had a goal, I had a purpose. And that's what I'm doing now to raise African young leaders that are coming up. Because I think we owe it to Africa for us to do this, for them to learn from our mistakes, for them to learn from our successes. That is the purpose. That is the goal. Is it going to be hard? Absolutely, yes. Nothing in this life worth doing is going to go smoothly. It is going to be hard, and we are geared for that. But it doesn't mean that because it is going to be hard, then we shouldn't do anything. Any person that has ever succeeded in life, they faced problems, they faced opposition. That is, it's called life. You are going to face challenges, but we still soldier on. So the discipline to stay on course, especially when things go wrong, is something that young people do not want to do. So as a leader as well, you need as much as possible to try and live above reproach. So, and I learned that in a hard way, especially when I became a minister, where if a journalist asks me this, I'll say, why are you asking me that? Why this? Why that? Until a journalist from Times Television once said, no, Honorable Minister, you are using public resources, and therefore we have a right to ask you about this. I went home and I thought about what that journalist had said, and I thought he was right on point. And I wish I could call him and say that. He was right on point because the moment you become a public person, you're using public resources, taxpayers' money, you are accountable to the public. You are carrying on your shoulder the burden of 21 million Malawians that are making it possible for you to have that job. If you're driving a car, they are paying through their sweat, blood, and tears, and therefore you are accountable to them. And so when you stay on course, you have the discipline to stay above reproach. It will guide you in terms of wrongdoing, especially. You will know Malawians will not want this. Malawians didn't put me here for me to steal their resources or for me to do this or for me to just be lazy and all of that. It will guide you. So you need to have the discipline to stay on course, but most importantly, to stay true to the purpose. Communication. You need to communicate honestly and always on time. And communication, I always say that it starts with yourself. You need to be talking to yourself sometimes. We, when you're talking to yourself, it's like you're bouncing off ideas within yourself. And when you are absolutely sure that this can go out, that's when you communicate. And simple communication tools, if you can speak, speaking is not communication. You can speak, but if what you're saying is not audible, no one is going to hear you. They can hear you, but if they don't understand what you're saying, you are speaking French to English speaking people, it means communication hasn't been done. If you still speak their language, but what you're saying has not been accepted by those that you're speaking to, communication still also has not been done. So communication is just not as simple as you speaking words or writing a letter. You need to communicate. You need to ensure that whatever it is that you are saying or you are doing, it is landing the way you had intended it when you were speaking to yourself. Remember, I said when you're communicating, you need to first communicate with yourself. So if it has landed on your brain, in your spirit, that is the same way that it has to also land on the other people, without which there will be no effective communication. And then consistency of delivery. This is where a lot of young people fall short. Today, they have been extremely good. Tomorrow, they just don't show up. They're not consistent at all. Even in a love affair, the fact that you bought her flowers 3 months ago on her birthday or because it was a Tuesday, it doesn't mean that you can still score based on that today. You have to be consistent. If you're giving, you have to continuously give. You can't say, oh, I gave you last year. Why do you want another gift today? No, you have to be consistent. This is in the same way, even in leadership. You cannot be coming early today or even just on Mondays and Tuesdays. And then you say, on Wednesday, I can slacken a little bit, I'll go around 9 o'clock and whatever. No, there must be consistency that is associated with your leadership style. Don't dwell on past successes or even past failures. You need to learn from your mistakes as much as you learn from your successes. What worked well yesterday may not work well today because the circumstances are always changing. They say change is a constant in our lives. So what worked well yesterday may not work today. Maybe the circumstances have changed, the economy has changed, the people have changed. Because remember, I spoke about leadership not being an event or an ad hoc activity. Leadership is a process, is a transformational process. The people that you're leading are being transformed as much as you are also being transformed. There's something that they are learning from you as much as you are also learning from people. That is why humility is extremely important, because if you have a humble spirit, You can even learn something from a receptionist when you are a director. The other thing I've already spoken about in the other episodes is about emotional intelligence. You don't have to answer to anything that people throw at you. I was walking in the streets of Limbe the other day with a friend of mine and a vendor. He threw some profanity at us. And I remember my friend stopping and respond to this guy, he did this and whatever. I am telling you, the whole journey, 3 hours after that, was spoiled for my friend because she had allowed the externalities of this world to affect her mood. No one has the right to affect your mood. I wrote on my status 2 days ago and I said, you don't become happy because something has happened. No. Something happens because you are happy. It means you are internally motivated. You are the one that affects your environment. When you wake up and you say, today is going to be a good day. This is the day the Lord has made, and I shall rejoice and be glad in it. Everything, even the very things that don't go well or according to how you had planned them, are still going to be okay with you because it is actually within you. You have the positive mindset, you have a positive spirit. And so you are affecting your environment like that. And soon the environment takes the cue and then it responds according to your internal pressures. And then there's also what we call spiritual formation. Spiritual formation is not about you being spiritual, it's about you staying true to your calling. I always tell people that there are places I cannot go, there are things I cannot do because of the values that I have for me. And it is okay. And this is regardless of how other people will take it. Because I don't have to please everybody. I will not do something because I want to be palatable to the people that I'm around. I will not do that. And so if you know that this is going to go against the values that I've created or that I've set for myself, you have a responsibility to stay true to your calling. It's called spiritual grounding or spiritual formation, where you are grounded and resolute to the things that you have set or your values that you have set for yourself. And then you also, as a leader, need to be able to handle pressure. Pressure is going to come. That is peer pressure or pressure of work. My child the other day was saying, I was overwhelmed by the pressures that I had because of my responsibilities. She's a prefect, she's a leader here, she's a leader there, she's a leader there, but also at the end of the day, she still has to do school. I just asked her one simple question. I asked her, I said, why are you at school? She said, to learn. I said, you see, everything else that you are busy with is coming as an add on. The first thing, the first reason why you are at that institution is for you to do school. So do school first. Do the other things when you have done your school. So being true to yourself, being able to handle pressure is about prioritizing yourself. Why are you doing what you're doing? So it means you are going to allocate quality time to the things that are important to you for you to deliver on the task that you want to deliver on. And then learning systems, establishing learning systems or learning the culture of an institution. Like I said, every institution has its own systems. You need to ask about these ones, maybe finance system, programming issues, maybe rules on internet usage or whatever. You need to ask about those things, learn them. Don't be too arrogant. Oh, at where I was working, we're doing this. No, don't bring your history into this one. This is a new chapter. It's a new thing that has happened to you. So act accordingly. And then be a good steward, even in small things. When I started my work at this first institution after college, I went to meet young people in a community. So I was meeting about 200, plus or minus 200 young people. So I had to give out allowances. So at that time, the accountant didn't come with me, so it was on me. I had to distribute lunch allowances. And I remember distributing, and then I still had some change. I went home. I counted that money. At first, it was 15,000. I counted it again, it was 7,800. Counted again, it is 8,000. My head was spinning. Where does the money go? Have I stolen money? Have I lost it or whatever? Until a friend of mine came and said, Vera, this money is 15,000. It is enough, But my spirit couldn't allow me to lose money, even though I knew I had not taken that money, But it means I had purposed it in my heart that I will not embezzle institutional resources. And so it was going to be, because that was my very first meeting. It is going to be a very bad mark on me if I was supposed to have brought back 15,000 and have brought back 7,800, even though I had not spent any money for myself or that I had not taken any money from it. I was not going to find the words to explain my situation. The point there is that you need to ensure that as much as possible, try as much as you can to be a good steward to resources that have been entrusted with you. Leadership preparation begins way before the leadership position arrives, before the office has been handed to you, before that car key has been given to you, before your name is on that door or on that desk. It starts exactly where you are. So where are you? And most importantly, what exactly are you doing as you prepare for that coming leadership role that is coming your way? Thank you very much for being with me on the Leadership Lab with Dr. VK, where we are raising authentic and efficient African leaders. We shall do it one conversation at a time. See you next time.